Warning. Pregnant women, the elderly, and children under 16 should avoid prolonged exposure to Dirt Diggler. Dirt Diggler may suddenly accelerate to dangerous speeds. Dirt Diggler has high gluten content and is not kosher, halal, or vegan safe. Do not ingest Dirt Diggler, as Dirt Diggler is for external use only. Discontinue listening to Dirt Diggler if any of the following occurs: itching, vertigo, dizziness, discoloration of urine, tingling in extremities, loss of balance or coordination, slurred speech, temporary blindness, profuse sweating, heart palpitations, increased use of profanity. If listening to Dirt Diggler gives you an erection lasting longer than 4 hours, you're welcome. Listening to Dirt Diggler may lead to unplanned pregnancies. If Dirt Diggler begins to smoke, get away immediately. Seek shelter and cover head. Dirt Diggler may stick to certain types of skin. When not in use, Dirt Diggler should be returned to a special container and kept under refrigeration. The ingredients of Dirt Diggler include, but are not limited to, a glowing substance which fell to the earth, presumably from outer space, and bad memories. Do not taunt Dirt Diggler. Dirt Diggler does not come with a lifetime guarantee. Dirt Diggler, enjoy the show.
Extra heat.
All right, once again, it is Dirt Diggler, the dirtiest Diggler to ever Diggler for Dirt Good Diggler. And today we are going to cover why the NFC West sucks. And this is the last one for why your division sucks, right? I've gone all the way from the AFC East all the way through the AFC, and then I've gone through the NFC, and this is the last one, the NFC West. So from this point forward, after today, after we discuss why the NFC West sucks, we're going to go into a whole different type of segment. You know, I'm going to, of course, cover Philly sports and whatnot, especially since the football season kicks off this weekend, right? It technically already did, but we'll get to that. But, you know, basically the content of the podcast will shift, and it'll be good, though. It'll be good. I mean, we can only talk about why certain teams suck for a certain amount of time. I mean, there's some teams that I'm always going to be able to say why they suck because they're always going to suck. But for the most part, you know, it's hard to go through all 32 teams constantly and what's wrong with them, because some teams are just going to do excellent this year and others not so much. So let's get into it, right? Let's talk about why the NFC West sucks as a division. So kicking it off, basically, the NFC West has like one overarching problem, right? They're a mixture of trendy, faux, hipster, fuckboys, and fucking obnoxious 12 Seattle fans, and then you have the Niners fans who are quickly supplanting all the East Coast teams as having the worst fan bases, because these guys are murdering each other in the fucking bathrooms and parking lots. So, I mean, you can say what you want about, you know, they threw batteries at Santa Claus. Yeah, but we didn't murder him. So, you know, San Francisco's got that, which surprisingly wasn't Oakland. It was San Fran that was doing that. So, I mean, way to take it, you know, way to go and lead from the front on that, San Fran. So, congratulations on surprising shit out of me. Either way, so, Seattle fans. Let's talk about Seattle, right? So, the problem with Seattle is most of the fans have, like, no insight into their history. Like, they don't know that the Seahawks were an AFC West team for a long time. They don't know who Steve Largent is. They don't know, like, even when they were moved into the NFC. In fact, they don't know shit about the team until 2012. So that's where the term 12 since 12 comes along, right? So 12 since 12, if someone says you're 12 since 12, that means that like you didn't even know this team existed until 2012. And because you're a new fan, right, new to success, you're probably super obnoxious. And if you've ever met a diehard Seahawks fan, they're super obnoxious. I mean, more so than your Pittsburgh fan, because they don't have the legacy of a Pittsburgh fan. They don't have the history of a Pittsburgh fan. More so than a Dallas fan, because once again, they lack the actual legacy and history of any of the established franchises. I mean, these are the new money asshats of the NFL is in respect to fans. So if you see a Seahawks fan, ask him who Steve Largent is, ask him who some of those old Seahawks players were, go over some jersey stuff, ask him what the name of the old stadium was, and just watch them stare at you and maybe give you the word bro a couple times before they walk off and go back to drinking their overpriced craft beer. So F those guys. Fuck them. Don't care. Seahawks can all burn in hell. Now, look, this is old news right here. But I gotta bring it up, right? Because it's the first time I'm covering his team. But, yo, why the fuck did Pete Carroll choose to pass that ball? Right? He had like the angriest running back ever in beast mode there, who could have moonwalked that shit in and won that game for him, but he decided to pass, which sealed the game for the goddamn Patriots and gave them Super Bowl number 4. Now, see, what happens is that foolish decision, gives, even more credence to these obnoxious ass Patriots fans. So I'm still kind of, I'm not really butthurt, but I'm upset that he made such a foolish decision, because even now, with Deflategate and all the other madness finally wrapping up, these smug ass Patriots fans still feel like somehow they're morally superior to other people, when really what it comes down to is Belichick simply doesn't make as many dumbass decisions as other coaches do. That's really what it comes down to, because that was a dumbass decision. I mean, that was a really bad decision. Either way, the owner had the stadium they play in built to amplify sound, right? And then they went and set a record to, as far as the loudest stadium in the NFL. And then Kansas City went and promptly beat that record without having to restructure their stadium to amplify sound, right? So of course the owner's all butthurt and tried to do it again and failed and all this other stuff. But let's talk about that, right? So the owner goes and he has the stadium built specifically to focus sound onto the field, right? To magnify crowd noise to benefit the team, right? And he goes, okay, it's a feat of engineering. I'm not gonna lie, it's impressive from an engineering standpoint that you can pull it off, but it's kind of a dick move. I mean, fucking really, it's you're kind of fixing the game at that point. But all right, whatever. So you do it, you get it built. It's not a bad looking stadium, right? You pipe in bullshit, actual music and white noise to blend in with your fans. You make it a little louder and you set a record and you're like, sweet, look, we've won the game re-rigged. And then the folks in Kansas City, they load in their stadium that isn't built to do any of those things, and they promptly beat your record. And you have the nerve to be mad that someone beat your record fair and square that you tried to rig. That just reflects really on this franchise as a whole. That's what they are. That's what they are. They're the rich kid that shows up in the nice basketball shorts and the nice Jordans and everything else, and gets his ass whooped by the kid, wearing the freaking second-rate Adidas, and gets mad and goes home. That's the entire Seahawks franchise. That's their fan base. That's their franchise. And you know what? Fuck them for it. Another reason that they suck is Beast Mode retired. Now, you can feel how you want to feel about his press conferences, but let's be real. That's a very interesting human being. I mean, now for those who may hate Beast Mode for whatever reasons, when he retired, he promptly went out and started building houses in Haiti, right? So when you lose a character like that, it's going to impact your franchise. And honestly, his absence, it makes them less watchable. I enjoyed watching him just kind of run through people and grab his dick and do shit. Like, he was entertaining because he simply didn't give a fuck. I mean, he was from Oakland. He did Oakland shit. That's what I expect from somebody from Oakland. He played the game how he wanted to play it. I would say he was like the Dennis Rodman of the NFL, but that's not doing him justice, because really, Dennis Rodman didn't do any of the works that Beast Mode did on his way out. So, but Beast Mode retired, man. That sucks for the Seahawks. That sucks. It sucks for the NFL as a whole. I know it sucks for me as just a general fan. So I don't get to watch people be angry that he's expressing himself, because God forbid someone like Beast Mode or Cam Newton express themselves, or Kaepernick, God forbid they express themselves. We need to leave that expression to folks like Brady and Rodgers, those who are qualified to express themselves, not these other types. But whatever, anthropomorphic cornball Russell Wilson is still your quarterback, and he got married to Ciara, and apparently he got laid, so good for him. Now, there was a big story about him being a virgin and all this. Now, all right, initially I was like, all right, cool, whatever. But then I remembered, didn't he get married to some blonde chick, right after he got drafted? Right, so if he got married right after he got drafted, and he's getting married for a second time, and he's somehow still a virgin, that could explain why he's not married still to that first person. I mean, regardless how you feel about the spouse and all this, the woman, if you were the dude and I would never consummate the marriage, and it was several years and nothing ever happened, y'all never did the thing, and all of a sudden now you're getting divorced. I mean, congratulations to him on that. Hope for success in his marriage. I hope he does. He's gonna deal with that asshole Future, who's a total shit stain when dealing with this. But whatever. But it is weird. So they made it they hyped this up. And Russell Wilson's super annoying, and he's super shitty because he's a walking brand. He's taking branding to the most obnoxious extremes, which is why he sucks. He's a competent quarterback. He's actually very good. He's got a Super Bowl ring on his finger. He's pretty good at playing quarterback. And but for him to take branding to such extremes to where like his marriage, his alleged virginity going into marriage, a second marriage, just seems like I can't believe nobody really said anything about this. I don't know. That absolutely, that's weird. It sucks. But I guess that's what it's like. Oh, hey, and also Seahawks fans, if you weren't watching this preseason, your boy Cam Chancellor got ran over by Ezekiel Elliott from the Cowboys a few times. It wasn't like he just trucked him one time. I mean, it wasn't like, Bo Jackson running over Bosworth, which he was a Seahawk. It wasn't like Bo Jackson running over Bosworth. This was Cam Chancellor getting trucked like multiple times by a rookie. So, I mean, yeah, he did come back later on in the game and give him a cheap shot. But at that point, it was more like some hoe shit, like running and punching someone in a parking lot during a melee and running off. That's the equivalent of what he did. And for that, you suck. You suck, Seahawks. You straight fucking suck. So moving on to the Arizona Cardinals, right? They used to be the Phoenix Cardinals, but then they moved out of Phoenix. So now they're the Arizona Cardinals. But the Bidwells, who own the Cardinals, are the physical representation of that time in Talladega Nights when Ricky Bobby didn't know what to do with his hands, right? If you ever seen these people on TV, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. They are just awkward. They are an awkward people. They just don't know what to do with themselves. Like, they get in front of a camera, and this is a team. This is an ownership that moved the team. I want to say from Chicago, like back when the Chicago Cardinals. So this is an old money NFL team. But these folks have no media presence, which, I guess is okay. Don't expect some billionaire to know how to get in front of a camera and be loquacious. But, I mean, they take awkwardness, but to another extreme, yet they always want to get in front of the camera when it's present. There's apparently a TV show, I don't know if it's Hard Knocks, but they were hamming it up, and they made a big deal about it, and they were trashed for it. Either way, another reason that Arizona Cardinals suck. There's this Hall of Fame receiver named Larry Fitzgerald, who will have spent his entire career in Arizona. And I can name only two of his quarterbacks, with only one of them being of any actual consequence. And that's a damn shame. You have one of the best, most talented football players to suit up in Larry Fitzgerald, who we really don't mention in the great receiver discussion, which we should, because he's a damn good receiver. And you've had corpses throwing him the ball for his whole career. I mean, yeah, you had that Kurt Warner time when Kurt Warner was there, and that's good. And you got, like, the last quarterback out of USC that was kind of good, and Carson Palmer, even though he's still a USC quarterback, so he inevitably chokes when it counts the most because, USC. But for the most part, he's had no one throwing the ball. No one throwing him the ball. Could you imagine if they gave Larry Fitzgerald a quarterback of competence? I mean, could you imagine someone like a Russell Wilson, a Peyton Manning, a Tom Brady throwing him the ball? Could you imagine Aaron Rodgers having a young Larry Fitzgerald on his roster? The things that they could do? Oh my God, they're talking about some Montana Rice legacy stuff right there. That's the kind of stuff you're talking about. But instead, he never had that Montana. He never had that Steve Young. He never had that Dan Marino. He never had a legendary quarterback. He had Kurt Warner, a whole bunch of scrubs, and now a glorified scrub in Carson Palmer. Man, it's actually kind of sad. It's kind of sad because you got a 100-year-old freaking choke artist as your quarterback, and now you're over the hill, and so it doesn't look good for him to get a ring. I mean, he had that one trip, but Pittsburgh managed to get that win. So, hey Larry, when you finally hang it up, man, I hope your speech is going to be great because you're a good dude, and it sucks that you're on that team. They wasted your entire life. Now, here's the difference though. They didn't make him depressed like Detroit did with Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson. So I guess that's a plus, but you still wasted his career much in the same way that Detroit wasted, Calvin Johnson and Barry Sanders, with the exception of actually like winning playoff games and going to the Super Bowl, which Detroit still hasn't done. Detroit still hasn't gone to the Super Bowl, even though, Arizona's been there. So the stadium itself, which is an engineering marvel as well, right? So while Seattle's stadium will like focus sound on the field and it's kind of cheating it for crowd noise, the field in Arizona is interesting because it's a dome, but it's got natural grass in it. And some of you are like, but dirty. That doesn't make sense. Doesn't natural grass need sunlight to grow? And wouldn't that be expensive to keep the lights on in the dome? And I tell you, yes, it does need sunlight. So what happens is the stadium actually opens up and the entire field is on tracks and it comes out into the sun, and that's where they sun and water it. Like, they sun the grass and water it outside, and then they track it all back into the stadium for game time. It's the craziest shit, and it's genius. But it's built like 40 miles away from civilization. Like, they just decided they found some old abandoned strip mall in the middle of the Arizona desert, and they built the stadium there, and they named it Glendale. And that's where everyone has to drive if they want to watch the Cardinals play. And that sucks, because I'm not driving 40 miles there and 40 miles back to sit next to a bunch of freaking, meth addicted white supremacists, screaming racist shit at all the black players in Arizona. I'm not doing that. So, I mean, there's only so much Mountain Dew I can have spilled on me before I got to swing on somebody. So, you know what? Your stadium sucks for convenience. Engineering marvel be damned. The stadium sucks for convenience, and no one should have to go through all those things to attend a game. Either way, so their head coach, Bruce Arians, is probably the coolest guy at your barbecue. He wears like Kango hats and glasses, got a goatee. He looks like a dude who was really cool back in the day. In fact, he probably has some really interesting stories from back in the day, because that's how Bruce Arians I just see him as like the uncle at the barbecue with the wicker hat and all the other shit. Like, I see him as the old player, at the barbecue. But the thing is, like, the dude's probably going to die mid-season. He's already, like, having health issues. He's super old. His whole staff is old. I think Dick LeBeau is still is somehow coaching there. I think that's where Dick LeBeau went. Dick LeBeau's like 70-something years old. Holy, Dick LeBeau's, I think, been inducted into a Hall of Fame twice already. Like, seriously, dog. Like, your coaching staff is a cheesesteak away from dying. So you're going to suck when these guys finally start having health problems. Now, do I wish them health problems? No, I got no issues with these cats. But it's going to happen because they're old, and old age is a bitch, some motherfucker, and it's unforgiving, and so goes life. So, moving off from Arizona to the Los Angeles Rams. Now, hey, look. I was actually in Los Angeles when both the Rams and the Raiders bolted. It all happened at one time. It was crazy, right? So you had Los Angeles as a city, which had two teams it didn't really care about, right? Even though the Rams actually played at Anaheim, right? The actual team for, like, I'll tell you what, if you were a minority, you were probably a Raiders fan. And if you were a suburban white person, or remember the old days where white people lived in certain areas, which were now a minority, then you were probably a Rams fan. I didn't meet very many black Rams fans, and I didn't meet very many white Raiders fans. But bottom line is neither team got any love in the area. I mean, the Raiders weren't really a good team at the time, for the majority of the time there, and people just didn't care about them. The Dodgers were doing well. The Lakers were doing great for the most part, and, nobody really cared. And then the earthquake hit, and the Coliseum got cracked, and they used as an excuse to go to Oakland because the city wouldn't pay for it. And then the Rams, bolted. I want to say Marge Shot, that freaking colostomy bag. Was that her? Yeah, I think it was Marge Shot. Either way, the former owner of the Rams, she was a turd sandwich, and she bolted for St. Louis to be with her people. And so many years later, the Rams return, and they're going to suck. If they're going to suck because Jeff Fisher is still your head coach, and he develops young quarterbacks like the Noid delivered pizzas for Domino's back in the day, right? Some of y'all are like, whoa, you're thinking back like of the Noid. Yes, avoid the Noid. Avoid the Noid. As good as he was at delivering pizzas, some of you will get this. That's how good Jeff Fisher is at developing quarterbacks. I can name exactly one quarterback that was any good for him, and that was Steve McNair. But he came out of college really good. So if there's a project to be done for quarterbacks, you don't need Jeff Fisher. You need someone who actually knows what the hell they're doing. So, yeah, fuck him. So, speaking of young quarterbacks, guess which number one overall pick is not ready to play in any capacity and looked like total shit during the preseason? If you guessed Jared Goff, you're right. He played against 2s and 3s during the preseason and looked totally out of his league. He's supposed to be like, no shit. He was, and maybe it's not fair to him, but I don't give a fuck. So listen, he was projected to be the most NFL ready quarterback out of this year's draft, right? More so than Carson Wentz, more so than Paxton Lynch, more so than Dak Prescott, more so than any other quarterback coming out. He was supposed to be a plug and play component to an NFL franchise. And you know what? He has no idea what the fuck he's doing. Now, this could be the magic of Jeff Fisher and on quarterbacks, and I actually want to believe it is. But maybe it's not. If you ever see a picture of Jared Goff or just film of him, he looks like a fucking asshat. He looks like a, that like Schroeder's douchebag who'll say some like horrible, deplorable shit and just wait for people to react to it. And then when they react badly, he'll say something like it was just a joke, but he was serious. Like, yeah, he looks like his daddy is what got him into got him into college. His daddy did all these things for him. He just looks like he walks around with pink polo shirts or pop collars. I wouldn't want to hang out with this dude. I just, whatever. He just looks like an asshole. So either way, he plays like shit. He's not going to see any game time this season. So if you're a Rams fan, just know that if you ever see him on the field, it's because all your other quarterbacks have perished, and he's being sent out as a sacrifice of the football gods. So whatever. Just know that you're also be playing second fiddle to the Kings and the Lakers and the Clippers now in Los Angeles. So there'll be a brief moment where people will care because it's new and it's exciting, but once like basketball season kicks off and hockey season kicks off, no one's going to care about the Rams. Just know that. So enjoy your short-term irrelevancy, Rams. So the head coach, like I want to say a couple years ago, 2 years ago, they trolled the shit out of the they really put it on him, right? Like Jeff Fisher, and I'll give him this. He sent out all the draft picks that they had gotten from the as captains for one game, right? And it was like an ultimate troll job. Now where he screws it up is when he was asked about it, he backed down and didn't say he was trolling them, but we all know he trolled them, right? So it was a funny thing, right? Because the gave up, the Washington team gave up a lot to get RG3s. They got RG3, and he had his one good year, and now he's in Cleveland, so you know how well that went. But they gave up a lot to get him. And for the Rams to trot out all the picks during this period of time where RG3 is actually in his nosedive as a player was top-notch trolling, and he didn't own it. Either way, he goes and does the same thing that Washington did. He freaking sold the farm to get Goff, however you say his name, and he's totally garbage right now. The kid's totally trash right now. So I just, dog, you do you not remember like making fun of the Washington team, rightfully so, and now here you are doing the same thing. Hopefully, the team he traded all those picks to does the same thing to him. That'll be poetic. But that maybe they would also give up their draft, for that one player. I don't know. Either way, F that team. Dude, the Rams are going to be shit. We'll talk more about why the Rams are going to be shit. But, yeah, the goddamn 49ers. Holy shit, dude. Hey, let me tell you why you're going to suck. Casual racist Chip Kelly's your head coach. The same Chip Kelly who in Philadelphia had a tough time talking to adult black males. The same Chip Kelly who freaking sent the Shady McCoy to Buffalo but kept Riley Cooper on the... actually, Riley, I'll fight every up in here. Cooper... they kept him on the roster, gave him a bonus. The same Chip Kelly who sent away Deshaun Jackson and fabricated a story about him being involved with gangs. That's your head coach now. That's your head coach. So if you looked at Philly and you were like, oh man, what a dumpster fire under Chip Kelly. Look what they're doing. Just remember, he's your head coach now. So rest easy in knowing that he's going to completely fuck your team. So give it 3 years, but you'll get a new coach, but you'll be definitely in a worse position. But thankfully, you won't have to worry about him gutting your roster because your roster gutted itself after your team sent Jim Harbaugh to Michigan for being a mean poo-poo head to all the players. Never mind that you guys went to the Super Bowl in multiple NFC championship games. No, never mind all the success he actually provided. He was a mean poo-poo head, and people didn't like him, so he had to go. And what was the most poorly executed power play by a GM and freaking owner ever. You send away a coach that is successful because I guess you just didn't like him. So now you're at the bottom of your division, and you're going to remain there forever because now Tom Silla's gone, and you have casual racist Chip Kelly as your head coach. Oh, also, your fullback apparently beat the living shit out of several people weekend ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. To include beating a 70-year-old man with his own cane. So he's looking at 7 felonies. So that's always nice. But, let's keep talking about Kaepernick, though. Let's not talk about the player who literally beat up multiple people and is looking at prison time. No. Let's talk about this guy who just wants to have a silent protest for a couple things. Let's make a big deal out of him because really, that's what kind of shit you're into. So, whatever, dude. Look, fuck your team. Your team plays not in San Francisco as it used to, but it actually plays in Santa Clara, I want to say. And the field conditions are garbage, and they have been, which was bad, right? Because Jerry Jones called it in like week 3 or 4, like, yo, this field is trash. Don't they know the Super Bowl is going to get played here? Well, they kind of did. But the field was still horrible for the Super Bowl. So, I don't know how you fucked it up. Look, you got a brand new stadium. You're hosting the biggest game in the sport, possibly in the world. And here you are, letting groundskeeper Willie do all this stuff by himself. So, I mean, I guess it works for cost savings, but it just doesn't put a good product in the field. But I guess you're not worried about that, Mr. Jeb York. Also, isn't felony enthusiast Alden Smith still on this roster? Has he been cut yet, you guys? Because he really likes felonies. Like, if there's a felony he can commit, he'll commit it. He's dedicated to felonies. You can believe you me. If there's a felony to commit, you got Alden Smith. But also, your owner's Jeb York. Apparently, he's a young dude. He inherited the team, but he's really more interested in looking like he knows what he's doing than actually like learning to do well at what he does. Right now, I don't know. Maybe I will, but I know for one thing, I will never inherit a goddamn football team. So with that having been said, I will probably focus a lot on understanding how to actually own a football team more so than just looking like I know what the hell I'm doing. Because we can all see you have no idea what you're doing, Mr. Jeb York. But I guess as long as you look like you know what you're doing to yourself, if anyone, then I guess you can sleep, go rest easy at night. But he definitely focuses more on looking like he knows what he's doing than actually knowing what he's doing. Yeah, I guess it takes all kinds. Anyway, yeah, that's why all your teams suck in the division. That's why you suck. But as I say every week up to this point, where there is hate, there is hope. And let me tell you why you should all be hopeful. Seattle, your team is still one of the best teams in the NFL right now. You're in an elite class as a franchise, and you actually have quite a bit of young talent on your team. So you stand to be good and have chances at winning a championship for multiple years going forward. I mean, seriously, one draft here, a free agent there, and you guys are really in position to do some really, really great things. So even though your team sucks, this is why you could be great. I mean, this season's no different from last season, different from the season before that, or the season before that. So Arizona, listen, you're also one of the best teams in the NFL. You're still pretty good. You were really good last year up until Carson Palmer shit the bed and threw 20 picks. But, I mean, you're a pretty damn good team, and you have some young talent. Where you're thin at is quarterback, right? Carson Palmer's like 1,000 years old, and he's from USC, so you don't know what you're going to get out of him. So you're going to need to get a quarterback in there that can take the reins. So Bruce Arians is going to need to live long enough to draft and develop a competent quarterback if this franchise is going to remain relevant. Because right now, Seattle is still winning the arms race in the NFC West, but Arizona is not far behind. You also need to find a suitable replacement for Larry Fitzgerald, which I know easier said than done. However, he's still a number one receiver, and you need to find a new number one receiver and keep him on a roster. So that's that. The Rams, hey, look, you're going to be shit for years to come. You have no hope. If you're a Rams fan, just fucking pack it up. Go home. The only thing now is you have a bigger market, so there's potential for more people to witness you suck firsthand. But, whatever. Look, even though you suck, though, I mean, you will take solace in the fact that you will beat Seattle and Arizona at least one time this year. And that's always perplexed me about the Rams. Like the Steve Fisher Rams. They will be active dumpster fires, but they will beat the top-seeded team in their division every year, at least once. Maybe twice. I've never understood that about the Rams. But just know, even though you suck, you have that going on for you. So I guess that's hopeful. At least you get to hand a division foe a loss. And I guess that's nice. Now, Niners fans, you have absolutely nothing to look forward to at all. Seriously, find a hobby. Maybe, watch some classic movies. Take up knitting. Maybe. Cook exotic foods, as my brother D would say. D would say maybe cook some exotic foods. Do something. Find a hobby. Don't watch football this year. Don't watch your team this year. Because they're going to be trash. They're going to be absolute trash. You're going to have Chip Kelly making you go 3 and out in 40 seconds, and your defense, whatever's left of it, is going to be freaking dead halfway through the second quarter. Just understand that. Also, you're not favored to win a single game this year. Like, there's some games that you're projected that maybe you could win, but you're not actually favored to win a single game out of the 16 games you have in your schedule. which is pretty dire. I think the Browns and the Niners are the only two teams to have that going on for them this year. So just know that you're an elite company when you're in the company of the Browns. The only difference is y'all were in an NFC championship not too long ago, and this Browns never was. So your descent into darkness was pretty swift, but you did it on your own. So congratulations. So with that being said, football started, apparently. It started on Thursday, right? So it started on Thursday with a rematch of Super Bowl 50, right? The Broncos versus the Panthers, right? And the Broncos won. Right? They won mainly because the Panthers had a lead, and the Broncos were allowed to tee off on Cam Newton's head. Like, seriously, head. They were taking straight headshots. They were targeting Cam Newton. If you watch the game, they were targeting Cam Newton. Now, some of y'all will be happy because you don't like Cam Newton, because you feel he doesn't know his place, and if that's how you feel, you can just go fuck yourself. But let's think about this, right? If that was old school Manning, if that was newly retired Peyton Manning, if that was Tom Brady, if that was Aaron Rodgers taking those shots, they would have thrown that flag every damn time, right? I'm seeing the same rules that were applied to Michael Vick being applied to Cam Newton. And I think it's bullshit, because it's not like he's running and he's throwing his body out there taking these shots. He's in the pocket throwing the ball, and he's taking headshots. And the fact that they're not throwing flags, not protecting this guy, come on. You know, you've been protecting these quarterbacks for a few years now. Either you're going to do it or you're not. The rules haven't changed with regards to that. So, I mean, that was piss poor officiating in that sense. What's even worse, though, is that Cam Newton at one point was clearly concussed and remained in the game to take more headshots. So it's a failure on both the officiating crew and the Panthers staff for not yanking that quarterback out. They didn't do a concussion protocol on him until after the game. Like, he was held back from his interview to make sure he wasn't concussed or whatever. But, this guy was done on the field. What are you doing? So, just to let you know, if this is how it's going to go, just know that by November, there's not going to be any living quarterbacks left. Like, if they actually apply that type of officiating across all the games in NFL, by the end of the year, there will be no starters left, and you'll be seeing some really shitty football. Really, really, really shitty football. So for those of you who felt he deserved it for whatever reason, like I said, go fuck yourself. But for those who are actually fans of watching quality football, just know that that's not a good sign when you got folks who are targeting quarterbacks and giving them headshots and whatnot with reckless abandon, knowing good and damn well that there's rules against that are just simply not being enforced. So, I mean, I guess if you're going to buy something, buy stock in feeding tubes, because the quarterbacks at least will be using them. So I'm going to start a new segment. It's called Beer of the Week, right? So this week's beer, hold on, I'm drinking it. This week's beer is Magic Hat Brewing Company's beer. It's a summer wheat called Steel and Time, and it's got ginger in it. And I'm not gonna lie, right? So I sip on this. I just picked up a 6-pack like a while back, I guess, and I got another one now, and it's not bad. For those who like a Hefeweizen, it goes well. Except it's got a spicy back end because of the ginger. Yeah, indeed, yes. It's pretty tasty. It does sit on your palate a little bit longer than I would like it to. But it's not a good game beer. I mean, not a bad game beer. If you're going to drink a beer this week as you watch football, this is not a bad one. It's not a bad one. It goes well with the heat. But you may want to switch things up and maybe have something a little lighter in between. It does kind of sit on the palate a little bit, but it's not a bad beer for the game. So that's my beer review for the week. I'll probably do another one next week. Maybe I won't. I don't know. Depends on what I'm doing when I'm recording. This week I happen to be drinking a beer. So, my uneducated predictions for this week's matchup, right? So, like I said, football is upon us. It is upon us. You have one game in the books already, with the Broncos beating the Panthers. But I'm going to make my predictions for the rest of the games, and I'm going to see how well I do in this, right? So I'm going to say I'm going to call the winner, right, and the score that I think is going to happen. So it's pretty traditional. A lot of other shows do this, but I'm going to do it my way. There's no consensus on this. This is just me taking a random Ray Lewis type stab at my predictions. So I see Buffalo beating Baltimore 21-13. I see Green Bay beating Jacksonville 30-20. I see Chicago taking a loss to Houston 14-24. I see Cleveland taking a loss to Philly 10-24. I see Tampa Bay losing to Atlanta 17-28. I see Minnesota shellacking Tennessee 35-17. I see Oakland beating New Orleans 20-10. I see Cincinnati beating the Jets 24-10. I see San Diego losing to Kansas City 14-20. I see Miami losing to Seattle 10-28. I see Detroit beating Indianapolis 20-14. I see the Giants smoking the Cowboys 30-10. Now, all right, look, that's a divisional game, right? That's a game within my division. Dirty, why would you predict the Giants to destroy the Cowboys like that? Cool, I'll tell you why. I think the Giants defense is good enough to keep the rookie under wraps. And I think the Giants offense is good enough to expose that weak-ass Cowboys defense. Most of their starters are still freaking suspended. So I can see them putting up a shootout style score on these dudes with the receiving core. Victor Cruz is coming back, and Beckham's still there. Their running back is solid. I see the Giants lighting their asses up this year. I see it happening definitely week one. There's no Romo to bail them out, to control the ball. You got a rookie coming in there and maybe a revamped pass rush. I see that Dallas team scoring no more than 10 points, and I see New York putting up 30. And let me just, I hate both teams. Fuck both teams, but that's what I see happening. I got to predict out the games. I just said I was, so I'm doing it. I see New England losing to Arizona 14-24. Like I said, Arizona is one of the best franchises in the league. New England is also one of those franchises that you can consider the best. They also have Jimmy Garoppolo or Janie Garoppolo, I don't know, whatever. Gene Garoppolo starting. That's anyway. They have some weirdo starting for Tom Brady, who's suspended as a final result of the Balgazi freaking madness, whatever, Deflategate. So I don't know if the Patriots are going to be winning that game, and I think Gronk might actually be hurt too. I'm not sure, but I don't see them winning that game. I see Pittsburgh smoking the Washington professional football team 35-10. So all my Washington fans who are somehow have deluded themselves into thinking that losing games against winning teams last year and never beating a winning team last year somehow makes you a good team this year. You're not good this year. You're not good this year. You're going to play a division champ schedule either way, and you're going to have to play games like, against Pittsburgh, and you're going to get your ass handed to you because those teams are actually really good. They're not the result of a super, super horrible division and a super soft schedule. These are guys that play real games against real opponents, and they make it to the postseason and win games there. You're not one of those teams, and you won't be. Just know that Pittsburgh's going to push your shit in, and that's just going to be what it is. And also, the last game, and I think this is a Monday nighter. Oh, help us all. I think it's Los Angeles versus San Francisco, and I have that being 9-6 in favor of LA. Listen, if there's one game that you avoid so you can catch up on your homework, schoolwork, taxes, anything, this is it. Like that's the least exciting game I can imagine right now. I mean, I'm not looking forward to that game. Maybe I can watch some college, reruns or something, but I'm not watching that game. That game's going to be trash. And you shouldn't watch it either. You should boycott that game because it's going to be garbage. Damn it. Demand the NFL put a good product on the field. So, moving away from football briefly, for the rest of this particular show, a quick 76ers update, right? So, Joel Embiid looks to finally be getting healthy, right? So, as a Sixers fan, I think it'd be interesting to actually see what this roster can do healthy. It's actually a very young roster, but they're getting healthy now, and as far as I know, they're not actively tanking, which is a big thing, right? If you're just deciding you're going to tank and to acquire draft picks, and now you're no longer doing it, you get to use those draft picks. So we're going to see what they're going to do, right? The East is really weak, with the exception of Cleveland. The Cavaliers are the reigning champions. They beat the Warriors in the finals, much to my chagrin, but they did, and they're the best team in the world right now, and they happen to reside in the East, but the other teams in the East are horrible, and everyone knows that. So we'll see what they do in the Eastern Conference. We'll see what the other teams do. I'm just waiting for the NBA to kick off so I can finally start to watch some of these games, or just at least read up about them, because I don't know if I could watch a full season of basketball. That's just like too much. And a quick update with the Phillies. The Phillies are still terrible. Baseball is still boring. And I refuse to watch any games that aren't in the postseason, which I don't see the Phillies being part of. So I do understand that there's some teams that just get hot I don't know if the Phillies are going to be one of those teams, but you know what? Doesn't matter. Right now, they're terrible. They're an extraordinarily terrible team. Their roster needs to be revamped, and that's just what it is. So, hey, look, find me. Find me on iTunes. Find me on Stitcher. Find me on SoundCloud. Find me on Mixcloud. Find me. Listen to me. Tell your friends. Tell your friends' friends. Tell your friends to tell their friends to tell their friends. Tell your parents. Don't tell your kids, though, because I say things like shit and fuck, so don't tell your kids. Unless your kids are adults, in which case, tell them, right? Also, hey, look, send me your finest, most passionate hate mail, right? Like, I just shit on a bunch of teams, and I'm going to shit on more teams next week. So send me your finest hate mail. Send it to Diggler2823@gmail.com. I really want to read your poorly written criticism of my show. I'm looking forward to it. Please send it to me so I can read it on the air, so to speak, and I can freaking chastise you for your bad grammar and using the wrong there in your writings and moving forward. So, hey, as always, it's been real, and it's been fun, and it's been real fun. You know what? Dirt Diggler out.